Hello and welcome to the class for Monday, August 31st for game design. I'm going to go ahead and open up the room so everybody can come in.
All right, I'm gonna mute and see you in class.
Hello.
Hey.
Hello.
How you doing today, Creed?
Doing good. How you doing?
Good.
Good to hear. I haven't had a chance to watch High Score yet. I've been really wanting to, but I got sidetracked because The Boys season 2 comes out this Friday. So I've been trying to catch up on season 1.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
I have to watch that whole thing. I've heard about it, and of course I'm a
So
big
good.
fan of superheroes, but
Right.
I've heard good things about it. Would you recommend it, Creed?
Oh, for sure. It's pretty, I will say it's really gory. Way more than I was expecting.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Just a heads up.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's really good. It's like really cool. It's a really cool take on superheroes.
I've pretty much at this point perfected the look away, you know?
Oh, yes, exactly.
Like, you know, when it's really clear somebody's going to lose a body part or,
Right.
you know, I'm just like,
Yeah, right.
oh.
You can sense it coming, just the anticipation. Whoa, all right.
Yeah, like, you know, whenever I go back and try and watch a movie like Braveheart or something, I just have to, like, there's certain scenes I just, like, have to let go. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right. Right. There'll definitely be a couple of those in The Boys, but I think it's worth it because overall the story's really cool.
Okay.
That story was the greatest superhero story for a TV show I've ever seen.
Agreed.
Really?
It's so good.
It was just very surprising at like every turn.
Right.
And you hated it, but you loved it in a
Yes.
hated way.
Yeah, right. I love
Well, have you guys watched Watchmen?
I haven't
I've
yet.
seen Watchmen. Yes, that is awesome.
That's
I
really
have
good.
HBO Max. Yep. I have no excuse anymore.
I know. There's too many choices, though. I mean, what do you get? Like HBO Max, or wait, Netflix? No, wait, Amazon Prime. Oh, Hulu.
No, wait, Hulu. Yeah.
Yeah,
Hulu
it
Live
kind of
TV.
never ends. It never
Yeah,
ends.
exactly. Or now CBS All Access. That's because I remember with
That's only because they have Star Trek. Only because they have Star Trek.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I was excited for the Twilight Zone reboot, but I heard it wasn't that good. So.
Yeah. I heard that too, which
I
is
like
unfortunate.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate because
right.
You know that they have the capability to make really good flicks these days.
Yes, I mean Black Mirror is like, I feel like Black Mirror is like the perfect modern day Twilight Zone. Could have just done something like that even.
Yeah, I don't know what their deal is.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna start taking. Let me get into the attendance here, so I can take that while you guys are joining. Let's see, pima.edu. Okay. All right, let's see. So, teach. And then attendance tracking. It's just taking a while to load up. Wow. Super slow. That is just, oh, here it comes. Okay, good. Okay. Game design. Okay.
Oh, I think I have seen some of this. I didn't watch it all the way through. Yeah.
What?
That is an interesting take on superheroes.
Oh, yeah, The Boys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, what's it called? What's it called?
The Boys. The Boys. It's on Amazon.
Okay, see, Britt's here, Jazz is here. I know Creed's here. Livia's here. Coulter, Esteban, Jesse, Hugo. Let's see. don't see Joshua. Is there a Joshua? And I don't see Tim. Okay. And then let's see, Victoria. I do not. Are you here, Victoria? I don't think so. Let's see. Logan Swift is here. And then Sam, I thought I saw you. And then Jaden's here. And Caleb. Yeah, he's here. And I think so. I'm missing. Oh, here's some more people. Isai is here. And Eduardo is here. And Nick is here. Sydney. No, Sydney. And then Joshua is here. And is Hunter here? Yeah. Okay. And then who else? Let me see. Who else have I got? I've got Brian is here. And I think that's it. Okay. That's everybody. Okay. All right. Let me, oh, got somebody in the chat here. I'm here, unfortunately, unable to use microphone today. Oh, I'm sorry, Isai. That sucks. But I'll watch the chat here so you can talk to us. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and then go over here to the class website. Okay. All right. So here we are on the game design post for today. And you'll notice that the presentation schedule has been posted here. So if you click on this here link, this is everybody's name. Hopefully I got everybody. If I didn't get you, let me know. And then a date next to your name, and that's the day that you're supposed to do your presentation. Now, if you want to remember what the presentations entail, you can click up here on this link presentations and click the FAQ, how to do your presentation. And then it says, you know, your presentation can be as short as 5 minutes long. It can be a Google Slides or a PowerPoint presentation. You know, it basically has to have something to do with games. It can be, you know, what I don't want, and I'll caution you right now, is please don't come in and show us like 5 minutes of video of you playing your favorite game, because that doesn't really educate us. It might be fun for you, but you know, it doesn't really educate us on further our knowledge of the game design industry, shall I say. You know, anything else is fair game. Whether you want to talk about your favorite company, your favorite designer, trends in the game design industry. You can even talk about a game company you want to work for. You can talk about, you know, new technology, whatever you want. I always suggest you find something you're passionate about and interested in, and that'll be cool for you to research it and then share that knowledge with us, right? So, and like I said, you know, the easiest thing to do, you have the Google Slides program already in your MyPima account, in the Google account. You know, you can get to something called Slides, and that's just identical to PowerPoint, except you can save it right in your Google Drive in your folder for this class, and then all you have to do is pop it open and share it with the class. So that's a really easy way to do it. And of course, what I just described is how you would turn it in. If you prefer to do it in PowerPoint or whatever, that's cool too. And then, of course, you can use notes during your presentation, and you are presenting it virtually to the whole class. I'll let you, you know how I share my screen, I'll let you share your screen, and then and share your presentation with the class. Okay, so, and these don't start till next week, I think. Let me see. Looks like the first one is USI. Yay, I can tell how happy you must be to be the first guy. But it's only, yeah, look at that happy smile from SI. Yeah, but you have, you know, it's a week from Wednesday. You have plenty of time to think about it. And I will give you some advice, and this goes for all you guys. Creed and I were talking about this when we first got on. You know, I told you guys about that high score series of 6 programs on Netflix, and it's really, really good. I just finished the last episode last night, and really enjoyed it, learned a lot, and it got me excited about different aspects of the game industry. The one last night is about John Romero, who created Doom, and it was really fun to watch. You watched the whole thing too? Yeah, so it's just great. But anyway, my suggestion to you is watch it because A, it's interesting and entertaining, and B, it's educational. But C, it can give you some ideas for your presentation. Like you might look and go, oh, I didn't know that, I didn't know about Ultima. I didn't know what that game was. Maybe I'll go it looks really interesting to me. Maybe I'll go look up the Wikipedia page for Ultima and do a presentation about that and how it changed the game design industry. So there's plenty of information there for you guys to use, unless you already have a different idea. And if, by the way, if you're concerned, you're like, oh, I thought of something, I'm not sure if it's good or not, you can always write me and I'll say, yeah, that sounds great, or whatever. So, okay. Any questions about the presentations? Is everybody cool with when it's happening and understand kind of what the expectation is?
Yeah.
All right, cool.
If we get done with ours early, could we present earlier, in case another student didn't do theirs yet or needs more time?
You can present early, absolutely, and it doesn't really matter what the status is of other students. I pretty much scheduled you like once per class, but there's no problem with doing a couple of presentations during a class.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So Hugo's asking, what else can we talk about? So, well, let me give you some possibilities. Like, I actually took this class myself probably about 2 years ago. There's a guy we have named Drew who was teaching, and I don't know if any of you guys had him. He's an excellent teacher. He's over at the U of A. But anyway, I took the class because I wanted to teach it eventually, and I wanted to see how it was taught. And if it were up to me, if I had to do a presentation in this class, I would be tempted to either go find information about a game that I was just addicted to, that I thought was the best game ever designed, and I would talk about how it was created and what the challenges were and the people who made it, and or I might, if I had done some reading and research about some designer, like maybe a Japanese designer who started a whole aspect of the game industry, I might research them. You could research and do a presentation about a game design house like id Software or Blizzard or something like that. You could talk about esports, which is gaming, right? And how that, is just this monolith of success for some people. You could talk about the future of gaming, like, virtual or augmented reality, what's happening with that. You could also talk, oh, go ahead.
What about music and gaming?
What's that?
Music and how it relates to gaming, to design of games?
Absolutely. You could talk about documentaries about gaming, and like somebody could do a presentation about the High Score documentary. In fact, it's kind of interesting. I just read this article that was critiquing the High Score series. They said, well, they did a good job, but there's a lot of things they left out. There's a lot of people they missed. There's a lot of things they glossed over. Like, for example, you guys are all aware of Gamergate. Do you know about that? Gamergate. So they don't mention Gamergate in High Score, and I think the reason is because the focus is on the developmental milestones of gaming, not necessarily the culture of gaming. And that, I think, might be a different documentary. But, you could go read some articles that review the High Score series and talk about it and talk about what your thoughts are. So, the possibilities are infinite. I'll give you one more example. There's something called gamification, which is where you take sort of regular stuff and turn it into a game for either the purpose of entertainment or often for education. I'll give you an example. Like, okay, there's this guy who wrote a book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad, or something like that. Anybody ever hear of that?
Yeah.
I don't know what the guy's name is. I can't remember it right now. But anyway, so this guy, I guess, is a financial whiz or advisor or whatever, and his book is about how to become better with finances. And so either he or a company related to him or something like that, they actually released a board game. And you play this board game, and by playing this board game, you actually get better at making financial decisions in the real world. Like, you know, you make choices about whether you're going to buy the car, whether you're going to buy the car outright with cash or whether you're going to make payments. And then, of course, you get the house, but then the market collapses, and then you lose money on the house. You know, it's all this cool stuff, but it teaches you. It's gaming as education. So, you know, there's just a ton of cool topics. So Hugo, what do you say? Does that give you some more ideas? Okay, cool. All right. You're welcome. Any other questions or comments about the presentations? Okay. So let me show you guys something. I've got my screen shared so I can just share these with you. But last semester, the students in this class made board games because, of course, last semester we were meeting physically. And this semester, you guys are working on your games virtually in Tabletop Simulator. But as I told you, there's also the possibility we could print some or potentially all of your games as physical games. And I wanted to show you, we just got some pictures of these games, and I wanted to share these with you, the games that they made last semester. So I'm going to click on this link here. And I'll just open these bad boys up one at a time, theoretically. There we go. Okay, so now, of course, remember, the folks who made these games are just like you guys. It's their first stab at making a maybe any game whatsoever. And, you know, they're making board and card games. And so you're going to see some things that maybe could be more well-refined, more polished, and some things that actually look pretty good. But, you know, it's going to be all over the map. So this one's called New Lord's Lair. And you can see that they have a variety of cool-looking cards down here. They just went nuts on all of the dice. So obviously dice is pretty important in this game. And then they have a very interesting looking board, something of a plain box, right? You know, maybe the guy who was assigned to do the box was sick. I don't know. I don't know. But, you know, the box certainly isn't. The box is like, you know, remember, you guys, a box is like a book cover or a poster for a movie. It's the box art that brings people in to see your stuff or buy your stuff. So make sure you make something interesting there. Okay, and we have a few images of this game. Here's another one. You can see that there's like these big card things here as well that have that logo on them. But you know, there's some cool looking art, and of course they've used the colors are very nice, right? Okay, so just a few different angles of that game. All right, now here's the next one. This one is also pretty cool. It's called Apocalyptic Clash, and this one's all just card game. And what happens is you have these little cards that have the characters on them, and then information about the characters, and then all these numbers. And I don't actually know all the rules of all these games, but you know, there's these colored dots or little pieces here where you can maybe put them on the card there to show your progress or whatever. And of course, cards you can pick up and play. But there's some cool things about this, like look at the cover of this box compared to that last one, right? I mean, it's probably not going to win the Grammy Award for, you know, best game box, but it's sure way more interesting than the last one. So, you know, at least do this, but hopefully even something better when you guys are making your game. So, okay, so we got that. We'll have a couple of pictures of this. This is a nice shot. You can see here's the rule book, which looks good. The cards look good. You know, it looks like an interesting game, something kind of fun that we could check out. Here's another shot. Now, there's only 5 games here that we're looking at, so it won't take that long. We have multiple takes of each one. Okay, here's the next one. It's called Bury and Borrow. And this one is awfully cute. This one obviously is all about dogs. And you can see the cute little artwork here, the doggy artwork. The cards are on these little card stands, which is nice for moving them around the board. We've got these little white, they're like white plastic rectangles, almost like logs or whatever, but those are the bones. And what happens in this game, I know a little bit about this game, they're using the bones as currency, right? And what happens is your dog can pick up bones from different locations, and then your dog can go and bury the bone, and then the more bones you have buried, the more sort of riches you have, I guess, as a dog, and the more successful you are, right? Now, of course, you're moving around the board, and you're doing things like running through people's yard or going into back lots and stuff like that. There is a dog catcher that's moving around the board trying to catch you. I think that's this dude right here. And so, it's kind of a fun game. You can see that the artwork, they at least, made an attempt to communicate what the, what's happening in the game. They could probably rethink that artwork a little bit. But one of the things that struck me about this game is how it's very similar to another game, which is called Dogopoly. Has anybody ever heard of that game? Dogopoly?
No.
No.
All right, so
I haven't heard it before.
let's look it up. All right. Well, maybe I'll go to. Well, this is Puppyopoly. Let me go to Dogopoly. Okay. So basically, it's Monopoly with dogs, right? And you go around the board, and same kind of thing. You're finding different, picking up bones and finding different things that dogs like to do. So it's kind of similar to that. Although you can see there's a lot of difference in the board and stuff like that. So but I think it's a cool idea, and it certainly seems like it'd be fun to play. And if you're a dog lover, of course, this would be the game for you. Let's see a couple different shots of it. That Dogopoly is clearly based on Monopoly, but I know when these guys were designing this game, they were also making a dog game based on Monopoly. It came out looking different. There's not all the properties and everything, but it's the same general idea, I think. Okay, here's the third game. It's called Rock, Paper, Dungeon. And in this game, there's lots of interesting, cool things about this game. There's a cool looking board, which is a dungeon that you're weaving through. There's nice cards with interesting artwork on them. Here's your little rule book. And then what's nice is there are these 3-dimensional characters, these little plastic characters that you move throughout the dungeon. And of course, these little like gems that you can collect and things like that. So, you can see that there's a lot of interesting things happening visually here. There's also these, which are, these are actually stickers from this company that we order the games from, Game Crafter. You can actually make your own custom dice. And these little squares are super cool. They're the size of regular dice, but they have these flat, indentations on each side that are just the same size as these stickers. And you can actually make the custom stickers at Game Crafter. And then when you sell the game, the people sort of assemble the dice themselves. They take the stickers off and they put them on the dice, and then you have these custom dice. Now, you can have custom dice made for a game where they actually, cut your design into the dice, but that's kind of pricey. So this is a cheaper alternative for that. So here's a few pictures of this bad boy. Okay, and now we're up to Araverse. It's another game, and Araverse is a game where the guys who were designing this, what they wanted to do was they wanted to design different eras of time. So there's like the future era where everybody's a spaceman, and then there's the Western era, and then there's the sort of knights in shining armor. You can kind of see from the box here that we've got the cowboy, we've got the medieval dude, we've got the spaceman, and then over here it looks like sort of a guy from sort of Napoleon times or something like that. So what happens is, each one of these little shapes here is a different era. And what you have to do is you have to move your characters through the different eras and collect a relic from each era, and then kind of come back to your own space, and that's how you win the game. So you can see that there's the different eras. There's these cards, and then let's see what else we got. Maybe we can see some more things in the other pictures. Yeah, there's a rule book over here. Oh, it looks like there's you guys can see these are stand-ups, and what they are, they punch out, and this little stand-up will go on this stand here, and it'll be a little standing thing that you can move along the board, a little character token. And then what else we got here? Okay, that's the overview. A couple of those. Okay. And that's pretty much it. So I guess that was all the games. I guess we saw all of them. Anyway, what do you guys think? Some cool things in there?
Yeah, definitely. I like especially this one. The art of even just the board is really cool. Just like
Yeah.
looks really interesting.
And as a system, I would love to dig into that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and you can see how primitive some of the graphics are and stuff.
Right.
But if you have a really cool idea, and then you have a plethora of time to work on it, you can produce some really good things. The other thing is, it's all the luck of the draw. Like, what if your team is 4 guys that are all really good with concept and mechanics, and then you have stick figure level artistry? You know what I mean?
Right.
Then you can
Thus you born Munchkin.
yeah, exactly. Okay, so all right. So before we get into talking about any more things here on the site, I wanted to check in with you guys and see how you're doing with your games. Has anybody made some progress that they can share with us via, looking at sketches or looking at, a game board or anything? What do you think?
I can share my screen for some of the art concept stuff I was working on this week.
Okay, so let me stop my share, and let me, I have to enable it so that you can share. Let me just, I don't know why, but it's got some big stupid thing in front of my screen. Hold on a second. Okay, I just have to click this and go advanced sharing options and all participants. Okay, Jazz, take it away.
All right. So we will do that. All right. Are we coming through all right?
Yeah.
All right. So basically, so we're doing the cyberpunk theme card game. We introduced a board last week, and we've been discussing concepts around the cards and the board's mechanics. And I'm sure Jesse and I can kind of banter about a bit more about that, just based on what we've been talking about. But in addition to making discussion on the mechanics and figuring out what stats are going to be in our first draft, I've been working on the art in some of my spare time. So the background is just a stock free background I got somewhere. There's going to be ways I can fuzz it out so that it doesn't actually look like anything. But so one of the locations we had in our cyberpunk city, we're presuming like a 24th century setting here. So we're going to be starting out foundry arrays, and that'll be one of the locations you'll go to in the city. And perhaps what'll happen is that city gives a bonus to attack because there's so many opportunities to exploit the machinery. And let's see. So this was the start of a vertical parking project I was tossing about. And you know, we have, hang on a sec, let me get, so we can get a bit closer. There we go. All right. So the concept was, you know, if everybody has a flying vehicle, and presuming that, you know, we've already overcome the problem of crashes in midair, then we have the potential for vertical parking. And vertical parking is much easier to flow in and out of, primarily because you can build something like this. So that's where my concept started. And yeah, so I just put an elevator in here in the middle for transport of people. So I did enable bloom, if anybody knows what that is. So that's all the fuzziness around the light you see. But this extra glow, that is not a light. Like, I did not put a light source in there. I found a glitch in Blender shaders, and it ended up working really well for the setting.
Yeah, it looks so cool.
Yeah, yeah. I did have one on the Foundry for a little while, but I ended up voting against that change. I had the beginnings of an office building here. Oh, pardon the work in progress. I need to disable the visibility on those. So yeah, this was just a start of an office building. I didn't spend a whole lot of time on this. You know, there's a couple of different things down here. Oh, this is where I took that police shot. Okay, so I apparently have these both in the same group, and that's bad. But yeah, so down here I have a like shorter, squatter building, but I figured one of our locations was going to be the police station. So what I did is I put together something here that I need to get closer to. So I did something here to make sure that we had the ability to keep that going. And I shot a little scene with, why is that guy not showing up? I am missing a piece. Well, at any rate, I made a, this car one body is a car. I've made a, oh, there's the police vehicle. I made this little police vehicle. This is just, of course, rough draft. There's going to be a lot more detailing put on it later. But you know, based on other artwork, I was like, okay, well, given what we know, what might the technology look like? So I went with something sci-fi and like more space vector thrusting than anything else. And then just had this like sleek look for the police vehicle. And you know, I'm thinking about things like, okay, if we're flying in 3D space, we're going to need a lot more signals, or we're going to need like a standardized antenna, right? So those little things, like little details that I'm going to be putting in at some point later.
Yeah, a lot of attention to detail. It's so sick.
You gotta when it's cyberpunk.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, so these buildings need to be a lot more detailed, a lot more work put into them. But this does lead me to the thing I wanted to bring up for this class. So what I've got is, let me switch my share here. So what I've got is a bunch of art that already exists within our topic. I did do some research. I've got some Creative Commons CC0 in here, and I've got an attribution 3.0. If we use that particular piece, we might have more pieces in there. But yeah, so this is one that was for the Blender movie, I want to say 2018. This was one of the concept pieces they did for that. But my question was, since this art already exists in the public domain and or Creative Commons CC0, what are the implications for using some of that in the game?
Well, I'm glad you're asking about that, because you know it's worth talking about copyright issues. So the bottom line is, anything that's in the public domain, you guys can use because it's in the public domain, which means everybody can use it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Anything that has a Creative Commons license or any sort of licensing on it you have to abide by the rules of that license. So there's different kinds of license. Like there's a Creative Commons license where it says do anything you want with this, you know, and then there's a Creative Commons license which says that you need to attribute credit to the author of it. You know, you can still use it in your project, but somewhere in the credits of your game, you have to say that John Smith created this artwork, you know? So really, and of course, Creative Commons, if you're not aware, is an entity that exists on the internet. You can go and you can look up the licenses they have, and you can see what the requirements are for each one. So I don't remember what CCO is, Jazz. What's CCO? Do you remember?
CCO is the effective equivalent of there is no copyright. Do whatever you want with it.
Okay.
So it's not, but it's weird that there's a distinction between that and public domain. So are you aware of any difference?
Well, yeah. So here's what happened. Do you know who has anybody ever heard of Lawrence Lessig?
Somewhat
Yeah.
familiar.
He's a lawyer.
No, I had never heard.
He's a lawyer who gets involved in a lot of really interesting cases. He's argued before the Supreme Court, and anyway, he was one of the people who started Creative Commons. And what Creative Commons is there's a bunch of people who believe that the U.S. copyright laws are out of date, especially since all of the internet thing has happened and there's all kinds of content being created on the internet, right? So, you know, people would petition the U.S. government, hey, please update the copyright laws, but, you know, the wheels of government move incredibly slow. So what Creative Commons is, essentially, Lawrence Lessig and the other people who he worked with, they created what they thought copyright law should be, but they made it voluntary instead of legally required because they don't have the power to make it legal. So basically, Creative Commons is an example of what copyright law should look like and what they're hoping the government will, the kind of legislation the government will pass. But because Creative Commons is completely voluntary, that means it's up to you whether you're going to obey the licenses or not. Everybody who's participating in it is doing so with the belief that the people who use their content will respect the licensing and will do things like, you know, give credit where credit is due, or if the license is that you have to pay me for that work, then that you'll do that. So it's basically a bunch of, you know, very intelligent people who got together and said, this is what copyright law should be. It's going to take 10 to 20 years before the U.S. government catches up. Let's just start doing it now. And maybe by the time the government is ready to do it, we'll have it all figured out and they'll just adopt our system, you know? So does that make sense to you guys?
Yeah, it's how a lot of things work for new industries.
Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, and by the way, every January 1st is one way that it's referred to as Public Domain Day. And what happens is there's an organization that every January 1st, they release a huge list of everything that's just entered the public domain. And that's everything from visuals to movies to radio plays, you know, books. And you can look at that list and you can go, oh my God, Sherlock Holmes is in the public domain. And of course, anything that's in the public domain, you are free and clear to do anything you want with. So you could make Sherlock Holmes games without paying a royalty. Or like, for example, Alice in Wonderland is in the public domain, right? And even Steamboat Willie, you know, Disney's iconic first Mickey Mouse cartoon, in the next couple of years, that's going to enter the public domain. And, you know, it'll be interesting to see what people do with that, right? The porn version of Steamboat Willie, I don't know.
Their vaults are already full of that.
Yeah. Too late.
Okay. All right. Well, Jazz, your stuff looks great. I'm excited to see what you guys are going to do with that. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Okay. Who else has got, you know, any progress that they've made with their game that they want to share with us?
Me and my team do. I was working on the designs for this game that we were making, and essentially what it is just a card game up to 4 players, and it has like each monsters as their playing cards, and each monster card starts with their base health, attack power, and stamina. Before each game, the players shuffle the stat deck and draw 5 cards. These stat cards provide various buffs such as health, stamina, and attack increases. If the player chooses to use a stat card during an enemy encounter, the stat card must be discarded at the end of the battle. Players have a chance to draw a special stat card known as a mutation that will give them permanent buff to health, stamina, or attack damage, depending on the card, with a subsequent debuff. So, like, if you get that permanent buff, you get also a debuff from it, so it can be balanced. Players will traverse the game through an event map that will lead them through easy, medium, and hard encounters. Eventually, the players will reach the mini-boss and ultimately the final boss. The players will have won the game after defeating the final boss. So, essentially, what we were going for was like more of a Cthulhu type of monsters, and we were just going off of a T-shirt. I'll share the screen right now. All right, you guys can see it?
Yeah.
Yep.
This is the shirt we were going off of. Like, so it was kind of hard to, because we decided to go for a more humanized look for these monsters. So I was trying to do my best with that with every single one of these guys. So I started off with Cthulhu the first day when I got sent off, and I don't know if you guys can see it, but that's what I went for Cthulhu, more of a tentacle face. I was thinking of Fire to the Pit again, because of that squid captain, whatever.
Yeah, Davy Jones.
Yeah, and I gave him some wings in the background because I was looking at some other images and information about him, the Cthulhu itself, and it's just a giant monster with great strength, great stamina, and it can fly. The only downside from him is just it has low stamina. So these are the stat buffs right here for each monster, and these are like the artworks I was trying to do for them. It was kind of hard. I didn't do most of them. Just like one of the only people that I didn't use a humanoid look, because I tried looking up information on how this creature looked like, which is called Azathoth, I think, and it's just basically like a giant blob of tentacles that has like razor sharp teeth and misplaced eyes all over its body. So I couldn't give
that's what it's like. Yeah, it's hard because like even like most of the monsters of the Cthulhu mythology are always like, oh, humans can't even comprehend what they look like. So it is difficult to try to draw that.
Yeah.
And then somebody makes Carrion. If anybody's played that.
For this one, I actually love doing this one because there's an anime called Overkill, and when I saw the name Shub Nigurath, there was a creature in that anime where it had the same name and it was talking about it, and what the beast was described was like it had 4 legs and it had tentacles coming out of its body, but the main part where I compared it to a humanoid version is that it had teeth, like mouths all over its place. It had no distinction of an eye or anything. It just all had mouths. So that's what I went for it. And I went for a female because when I was reading the information behind this monster, it was mostly just a female, like the queen of everything.
Right.
So, and this one I saw information about it. It was the same situation with the second one where it was just a giant blob, but the way how this guy looked like, it was more if he looked like a snail or no, a caterpillar. But the way how I made it is that he had like all kinds of green eyes. I didn't color these monsters yet, but this is just like rough sketches of what I want them to look like. The eyes, you can obviously tell he has like many eyes, and they all glow green. And he has one mouth to compensate, and then he has other teeth around his body. I should have drew more, but yeah.
That's great.
This one is called Rahos. I can't say these names, but it's
really weird.
I know. Essentially, this guy is just really all he really has to distinction is like a wrinkly body. I need to work on that still, but the main factor that I tried drawing on this guy was like the 2 giant eyes that he has beside of him. I guess you can call it like a dinosaur, but these eyes are just sticking out most of the time. And then he has like one circular mouth and just tentacles all over him. it was hard to make these because I was like, all of these guys got tentacles.
Just tentacles. I know.
And this one was very interesting because this is the most common look that this guy would have.
Right.
Haster, and basically he's the king in yellow. That's what they call this monster. And he doesn't really have a distinct face. It's more of a shadow when you look at his like face, but you can see sometimes there's like art that shows like him with red eyes. But what he stands out for most is that he just wears all yellow besides the tentacles hanging out from the bottom.
Right.
And the deep one, it's more of a lizard-based type of creature. It doesn't really have a. Oh, I never found out anything about if it was a male or just anything. I guess it was just mostly a creature. So it's like sort of like a race in a sense. So
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. I think it's just like a race of like weird lizard
Yeah.
people underground.
and these guys usually live underwater. So
Mm-mm.
and then this one was pretty interesting when I saw some artwork for it. It was mainly all over the place. Like, how do I say? It was like a giant blob, like the rest of these, but then it had like some muscular features with it, and at the tip of their muscular arms, it had like a tentacle to confiscate, and then their faces always had like the reverse way of having a mouth in the bottom, but this time it's always on top, and the eyes were all over the bottom.
Right.
And then the last guy, which was pretty easy, it was just a ghoul. So
Right.
they're not really hard to make. It's just a regular ghoul how you would see them in real life. I'm gonna try making it look more scarier next time because I was trying to go off of what I know how to draw. So
Well, cool. Well, those look great. Really, really fun, interesting stuff. You're certainly going to get some exercise drawing tentacles this year, right?
yeah, yeah.
Now, Eduardo, I have a suggestion for you. I know you're just at the sketch stage or whatever, but do you use anything like Photoshop or anything similar?
I used to use that type of stuff. Right now, I'm trying to get a better computer or possibly a desktop right now, so I can go onto Adobe Illustrator because that's what I used to use back then to work on my drawings and stuff like that.
Okay, well, if you do get into the situation where you have a computer, what might be nice is if you could take all those drawings and take your photographs of them or scan them in or whatever. But if you could take all the drawings and you could put them all next to each other on one big digital document and size everyone down to the size of a card, okay? I think if you see them all together, it will help you like with consistency, like making them all look like they belong in the same game, and it will also help you with scale, because some of them like the ghoul, it might be very kind of small, and some of them like might have so many tentacles that you'd have to make them super small even just to fit them on the card. So I think possibly if you put them all next to each other, especially if you surrounded each of them with a rectangle or a rounded rectangle that was about the size of a card, you'd be able to start visualizing how they would look on the card, and it might help you make some changes to them.
Okay.
Okay. So, but it looks great. It's really, really fun.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else from any of you guys, whether you're working solo or as part of a team, that you want to share with us?
I have a little something.
Yeah.
I
So,
sent an email.
okay. So let me look at that.
Okay.
I'm going to bring that up, that email. Okay, here we go. And then I'll open up the PDF. And then I'll share my screen with you guys. It's just taking a little while. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to share my screen. Where'd my Zoom go? Here it is. Okay, share screen. Share. Okay, Livia, can you see this?
Yes.
Okay. So so this is for your toxic relationship game, right?
Yes.
Okay, and then would you like to go ahead and tell us what's going on?
Well, I decided some cars, and I was not satisfied with the design, so I going to redesign them. And that's I noticed that I need a good logo for the game, and I create a logo. It's in the next page.
Okay, but this is great. So you made this, you worked on this art, and obviously you want to use Art Deco, so you put some cool Art Deco designs on the back of the card. The black is really nice with the silver and the gold. And then you even put the name of the game, but then you stopped yourself. You said it's boring.
Yes,
I need a logo for the game. Okay. So now we go to the next page.
that's the logo that I created, and I like it.
I like it too. What do you guys think?
Awesome. Yeah, it's awesome.
Awesome.
Yeah. Now, one thing that I noticed right away is, do you have any desire to maybe put the eye holes on the mask as well, or not?
No, because it's going to be too much. It's going to be too much.
Too much detail at that
Yes.
point? It'll take away from the logos all. Okay.
Yes.
Actually, I think that's a brilliant design choice.
Yeah, because we get what it is, right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. So, can I suggest something for you?
Yes, of course.
What do you think of the idea of taking the its off?
Only toxic.
Yeah.
Okay. It's better. I don't speak English. It is better without the it's.
Well, it kind of reminds me of, like, I don't know if any of you guys saw that movie, The Social Network. Did any of you guys see that?
Yeah.
Oh,
No, I haven't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, well, I'm not talking about, like, the movie itself. I just remember one particular line where the guy says to Mark Zuckerberg, because Zuckerberg originally called it his company the Facebook,
Right.
and this guy Sean, who became an investor and consultant, says, "Oh, by the way, drop the, just make it Facebook," And of course, now we have Facebook, right? And so that's kind of what I thought of when I saw it's toxic. The toxic is so strong by itself that it seems a little superficial, right? And so I just
Okay.
thought, boom, toxic. That's just and also it's intriguing to me. Like, what's toxic? I want to go find out.
Although, Olivia, I'd like to comment though, if during the course of development of your game, there's something that pairs well with this, like maybe it becomes escape or toxic, but whatever that second word is, I like the style that you used for its. So if you're going to use something to conjoin the two words, I would definitely keep that style. It fits well.
Okay, so she can keep that in her sort of library of styles to apply to things, right? And Coulter mentioned in the comments here that the cards look really pretty. So it'll be really cool to see how this logo looks on these cards.
Okay, I can try that.
Okay. Now here's a tagline. Let's see what you guys think of. Get out while you can. Remember, it's about relationships, right?
Yeah.
Get out. What do you guys think? Do you like that tagline for this game about relationships?
I fully endorse even the maybe.
Even the maybe?
Yeah, just leave the maybe.
She should leave the word. She should leave the word tagline in too.
Yeah.
Tagline.
Well, no, but the maybe really makes sense from a toxic relationship sort of perspective.
Right.
I like it.
Yeah. Very nice. Okay. And is that it, Olivia? Is there any more for us to look at?
Yes, that's it, because I'm going to redesign the card. I'm going to try to use the logo in the design that I already made to see how it look.
Yeah, well, the gold especially is so beautiful, but of course the silver pairs with it really well. Now, I have to tell you something. One of the things that I think of, I don't know if any of you guys get this as well, but does anybody else get like a Great Gatsby feeling when they're looking at this Art Deco?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely, yeah.
So I don't know. Are you familiar with the Great Gatsby, Olivia?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I don't know if you want to run with that or you just completely want to ignore it. But, you know, I mean, you could use Gatsby, graphics or maybe even elements of the story. I don't know. I don't know. Gatsby certainly seemed to have had a few toxic relationships himself, but you may want to stay completely away from that. I mean, certainly Art Deco was used for a lot more than just The Great Gatsby, but I just thought I'd mention that
Mhm.
association came to me, yeah, but it looks great. Super. Okay. Nice job.
Thank you.
All right. So do we have anybody else who has a team or maybe another individual who wants to share something they've worked on?
I can share a few things.
Okay.
We have SI working on the logo. If he wants to post that on the Discord general, that would be really good. And the other Hugo is working on some of the chip designs that we're going to be used since it is still a poker game. So we're going to want to make some cute little custom chips. What was I going to say? Oh, forgot what I was gonna say. Sorry. I got a few more of my sketches cleaned up. Jaden has been figuring out porting and working with Tabletop Simulator. He's posted some good tutorials in our team chat and has been teaching us like how to actually play all these games and stuff for people like me who played like Goldfish 15 years ago and don't play card games.
Cool.
But yeah, we've been making some pretty good progress.
That's awesome. Now, Isai, I know you don't have a microphone, but you can also post things right here from the chat window. There's a little thing that says file at the bottom of the chat window, and you can click on that and upload something. It says, wait, somebody says, well, Cal says, I put some rough drawings of mine in the indie Discord server. Okay. So now is Cal on your team or is that a different team?
No, that's a different team.
Okay, all right. So we'll look at those in just a second. So it says file is on the phone at the moment. So that means we can't see it, right, Isai?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, that's not a problem. We can...
No, wait. He posted it to the Discord general. If you want to pull that up, but I'm sure everybody can look at it on their own too.
Yeah.
Okay. Jazz, can you post a little link to that in the chat so I can get to it?
Yep. One moment.
Thanks.
Where's the thing? Okay. Invite. Copy. This should work. It's just the public invite. It should just open your Discord.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen. I have it now. Oh, I'm sorry. Somebody else is sharing it. Okay, who's sharing that? Is it Isai? Yeah. Isai is actually sharing it.
I think it's Isai.
Okay. So, now Isai, you can't talk, right?
No, he's having microphone problems because his laptop is still being fixed right now.
So Coulter, can you tell us what this is?
Oh, this is a design for the logo we have, or the SI made light sketch, and then he's slowly like inking it and stuff. And yeah, it says Western Draw, and we've been thinking about like incorporating like the stealing theme, as you can see with like the little lasso there, that's like grabbing a bunch of cards. Yeah, it's a really good sketch of the logo, and I think it looks.
Yeah, it looks really fun. And then
Yeah, that's some old stuff. Let me post some of the new stuff to the Discord. I have the flipped versions of everything. The only thing I'm still a little bit worried about is like centering all of them to make them look a little nicer. But there's some of the cleaned up sketches I have of some of this stuff. I don't have everything cleaned up quite yet, but this is the stuff I have so far, and I've kind of got it all in the standardized size that we need for cards. And eventually I'm going to export all these sketches and then color them. But yeah, I've basically just been cleaning up most of the artwork I've gotten done so far.
Well, this looks great, and I'm really glad to see that you're using the templates, because then, you know, when all is said and done, we can always just send those off to GameCrafter to make the actual cards. And you know,
Yeah.
there's nothing cooler than seeing your actual cards in your hand. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and then here's the what was I gonna say? The design that Hugo did for the chip so far. A little rough, but we'll get them fixed up eventually. But we're just thinking up some cool Western iconography, like the cactus, boot gun, whatever else. And yeah, so we're just basically making everything into a Western aesthetic because cowboys are pretty cool.
Yeah, it's looking good now. When it comes to those chips, maybe you guys would consider going to GameCrafter and downloading one of the templates for one of the round cardboard chips you can make.
Yeah.
So when you redo those, if you do them on the template, just like your cards, then they'll be all ready to go if we want to have the game made.
Yeah, Hugo should definitely look into that since he's working.
Okay, and if Hugo or any of you guys, if you have any problems, you don't know what to get, or you have trouble figuring out how to get it from GameCrafter, let me know. I'll just help you with that. Okay, that looks great. It's really wonderful. Look at lots of improvements in that game. Okay, so I know Cal. He said put some rough drawings of his in the Indie Discord server. So I clicked on this link, which took me to Indie took me to the Discord. So let me see. What should everyone call you? I'll just put Greg and continue. If I can get username, too many users have this name. Okay, Greg Lamo. I'm just going to try and get in there and then share my screen so we can look at Cal's stuff. All right, just give me a second while it loads up. Okay. Enter my birthday. Oh my God, I got to go through this whole thing. Okay, sorry guys.
Oh, I'm sorry. That opened on your browser, didn't it?
Well, I haven't actually. I'm on my laptop because I'm actually at Pima right now.
Oh, I see.
And I don't have Discord on this, so that's why it's doing this crazy thing.
Yeah.
But I'll be. I'm almost done with this. I just have to go back 100 years to put my age in. Let's see. Here we go. All right, done. Okay, here we go. So now I just have to open the Indie channel.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And the Indie chat channel. That was voice chat, I think.
Oh, I'm sorry. So I went to the voice channel. Got it. Okay, so Indie text channel. Okay, and now I can share my screen. I'm not sharing my screen. I might know. Okay, share, and then here we go. You guys can see this?
Yep.
Okay. I will attempt to make it larger and zoom in. Okay, so Cal, I don't know.
You can click on the picture for a larger
okay, great.
resolution.
There we go. So Cal, do you want to like type in the chat like anything about this?
I can just speak if you want.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so basically the first idea is the one I already pitched. And then the second idea is basically, like you said, I like the idea where you could stop the wheel at any time so that the player could basically choose when he wants the wheel to stop. I also incorporated, I just took the numbers down 0 through 12 and then put 2 symbols at the end, the crown being 100x, and then the coin flip symbol would be basically a coin flip game mode where it could be any multiplayer up to 50x.
Wow. Okay. Cool. Well, I think it looks great. And, you know, I think your math skills are beyond me, so I don't even know what you're going to end up doing there, but I'm looking forward to it. I don't even know what the hell's going on with the roulette wheel, and you seem to know enough to change the rules on it, so more power to you. Okay, well, I think it looks great. Now, so are you thinking that you're going to actually have a working wheel inside of Tabletop Simulator?
Well, I was gonna do that today. I've got some new 3D models.
Uh-huh.
I haven't really played around with tabletop, so I'm not really familiar with it. Um, I started working with tabletop like a couple of days ago, but I didn't really get into it. So I just have to mess around with it and see what I can do with it.
Okay. Well, yeah. I don't know if you remember last week. I think I showed you. Do you remember that little flick tool?
Yeah.
Okay. So if you can, I know, for example, that you can build things because there's physics in Tabletop Simulator. You can actually build things. They don't work like 100% the way they should. Like, for example, and I'll show you guys this maybe next class, but I have one game in Tabletop Simulator where I actually built these working catapults. And what I did was I built up like a stand, and then I built, the little catapulty part, and I attached it to the stand, but I made sure that its movement was loose in the center. And then what happens is you take a little projectile and you put it in the little basket there, and then you take the flick tool and you pull it back and you just basically hit the end of the catapult. And because of the way the physics is programmed in the machine, it flips the basket and throws a projectile across the screen. So, in other words, if you had a 3D model that was something that looked, I'm going to say like, that looked like a roulette wheel. But let me use the example of like a pie pan or something like that. If you had like a pie pan and it had a hole in it, and you could stick that on top of, a base that had a post sticking up. So you had this pie pan on top of this post. You could use the flick tool and you could hit the pie pan and it would spin around because that's the physics of that game, right? You could even attach a little top to the post that's sticking up so the pie pan wouldn't fly off of it. Now, of course, that's an incredibly rough, metaphor for what you're trying to do. But if you can find something resembling a roulette wheel in Thingiverse or something like that, or build something, or you have friends who can help you build that, as long as that wheel can like have a hole in it, and you can have a base that could go up through it, and then you could put a little top on that so that it won't bounce off. You can use the flick tool to power it.
Because I was wondering how I was gonna get the table, or like the circle table, to actually spin, because I don't know if you could actually do that.
Actually, I can help model that. But so basically, you said you got a new 3D models. Do you know how to open them and work with them in Blender?
Yeah, I know how to like upload them to tabletop. I just don't know what to do after I put it in and mess around with it.
Well, yeah. Hopefully, if you use tabletop in your search / that's what it said they were for, it should work out of the box.
Okay.
Yeah. I will tell you in advance, it took me a long time to build those catapults, and even now, I mean, they didn't work perfectly exactly the way I wanted them to, because the physics in Tabletop Simulator is somewhat truncated. Like, for example, if you bring in a 3D model, like let's say you bring in a 3D model that looks like one of those little cars, those little railroad cars that like they used for the gold mines, the ones that are empty inside and they filled up with rock. If you brought in that 3D model to Tabletop Simulator, you couldn't put anything inside of the cart.
That's what I was thinking. Okay.
What's that?
Yeah, because when I put the roulette table in tabletop, I don't think you can actually like use anything. I think it's just a table, basically.
I think that might have been an error in construction. So Tabletop Simulator works with simple, convex colliders, and so what you could do is have an object defined in 3D space with 5 colliders to make a box, and then it should work.
Okay. So in other words, it's just poor design or it's ignorant design, right?
Right.
Okay. Well, yeah, and you could be a big help in that regard, Jazz, because I love Blender. I think it's God's gift to 3D, but I don't know it. I just know what I taught myself, So yeah, any help you can give us with regards to 3D will be great.
Sure.
Definitely for like additional stuff, keep an eye on the Steam Workshop as people upload stuff all the time there, so you can get examples of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
You could probably even ask it the author, like, could I use this for my class if it works or something like that.
Okay, that's a really good idea. Okay. All right. Cool. So this looks great, Cal. Thank you for that. And anybody else have anything else that they would like to share?
I do.
Okay, Brian. And how do you want to share it?
I'll send it through Discord.
Okay, great. What channel is it going to be on?
General. It's the concept for the board game cover.
Wow, that looks cool. Now, is the name of the game going to be right here or something?
Oh, it could be. I drew it like that, so like since it's like cosmic, it's like him coming from the shadows of like space.
Oh, I see. So like everything would be dark. You see his
Yeah.
hands around the world, and then you see his face kind of emerging.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you guys think?
Awesome. It's so cool.
Yeah.
Like it.
I think it looks really good. And yeah, I would experiment with like, this head here, like, potentially you could make a much larger version of the head that would be closer to everything and see how that looks. You could experiment, like I said, with having the name of the game right here and see how that looks, obviously you just made the first sketch and it looks really cool, but when you take it to the next level, do you work at all with programs like Photoshop or?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it would be cool if you use something like GIMP or Photoshop or something like that, and you scan this in and you put the black back there, even if you just made each one of these shapes white and we could see it against the black background, it would be helpful to sort of see how your final design is going to look.
Okay.
Yeah. And I don't know, maybe there's somebody, are you working, are you part of a team?
Yeah, I'm part of Team 4 with
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there anybody on Team 4 that has like Photoshop skills?
Yeah, that's what Eduardo's on our team. So I think he was saying that he has some Photoshop skills. He
All
just still
right.
needs the
He's just
computer
trying to
and
get
stuff.
his computer thing squared away,
Yeah.
right? Okay. Well, maybe he can help you, Brian, with pulling that into a digital program so you could see kind of where it might end up,
Okay.
But yeah, I think it looks really great. You guys are doing some cool stuff. Okay. Anybody else with cool things to show us?
I don't really have any images to show off, but I finished up a quick start rules guide for our game.
Okay. And is that anywhere we can see it?
Yeah, it's just in the shared Google Drive folder.
Okay. Is this it? Nope. Hold on a second. Let me find this. Game 101 invitation collaborate. There it is. Quick start rules.
Yep.
Okay. This looks great. It's really important that you set something like this up and that you do it in such an organized way as you've done it. So notice he's got a setup section, and then he tells you what you can do at the beginning of each round. He breaks it down to what you can do on your turn, and he's got a really nice system here where he's breaking everything down into components, and then the end of each round. So Beginning of each round, on your turn, and end of each round. Okay. It looks really nice, really well organized. And then, do you think that eventually, of course, when you have artwork and stuff like that, will you add some artwork in here as well?
Probably.
Okay,
Or
cool.
that might go in the more extensive rules book, because this is only like just a basic game. So if we wanted to add like ship captains and stuff, those would be more in the more extensive rules.
Okay, so we think this is mostly going to be, the rules will be just text-based kind of thing?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so one thing, and this is up to you guys if you decide you want to go this route, but one thing that they recommend, like at Game Crafter, you can download a sample rule book and then you can fill it in with your content, right? And one thing that they recommend is they recommend that you actually give an example of a round of your game being played, right? So, and that can help people sort of visualize how the rules work. Now you can, Britt, you guys can discuss if you want to do that on your game, but the way that would work is you would have, essentially the general rules here, right? But then afterwards you would say, example of gameplay. Frank and Eddie are playing the 2-person version of this game. Frank sets up this card, rolls the wind die, blah, blah. And you literally just walk through an entire round. And then that's helpful to people to see like how it actually works. So I don't know. Does that sound like something you might be interested in, or?
Yeah, I'll probably add that in.
Okay, cool. All right. It looks really good. Like I said, it's a good. You did a nice job, and I'm glad that we're sharing this with the rest of the class because they can see what a nice organized start of a rule book looks like. Very good. Okay. Anybody else have anything in the share pool here? Want to share? Okay, let's do this. I'm going to give you guys 5 minutes. Get a drink, get a snack, whatever. We'll come back and we'll talk about some game theory stuff. Okay. Okay. So I think I'm just going to slowly sashay back into the class here with hopes that you guys will do the same. So I'm gonna start by sharing my screen again and go to the class website here, and I just want to point a couple things out to you guys. The first thing I want to point out is I've got a new blog post posted here on the website, and if you go look at that, you'll see this little post about a creative solution I came up with for putting information on the back of a game box. So when somebody goes to buy, your physical game, and whether that's a board game, a card game, or even a video game that's inside a box or something like that, my idea is that they treat it the way you would a book. You first are attracted by the cover, and if the cover is good enough and interesting enough, it gets you to pick it up. Then what do most people do, after they pick up a book and look at the front cover, they flip it over and they look at the back, right? Now the back will usually have a picture of the game or, being played, or maybe some cool screenshot or something like that. But basically the front cover like pulls them in, almost like a barker, a carnival barker who's standing out in front of the circus and like, come on in, 2 for $1 or whatever. You're trying to get people in, free peanuts, and so they grab them and then they bring them inside the tent. And then once you're inside the tent, you look around, and if it looks good enough, then, you pay the guy your $1 and go in with your kid or whatever. So the back of the box is important. It's not as important as the front, but it's the next most important thing to get people to eventually buy your game. So, the situation I had was I have a board game I'm working on, and I have all of this information, this like huge paragraph of information I wanted to communicate to the potential buyer about, where this game takes place and what it's about and what the mechanics are and stuff like that. And I wrote it all up. I wrote a paragraph about it, and it just turned out to be basically a list of all the things I wanted to communicate. And I thought, that's boring. Nobody wants to read that. You know, you don't want to just look at a big long list of junk. You know, you'd like to read maybe a entertaining paragraph about what you're, you know, what the game's about, so it can suck you in. You know, and so this article is just it's about the process that I underwent to take that list of what I thought was boring information and come up with a creative solution for a way to present it to the audience. And essentially what I came up with was, when I really looked at the information I created, it just looked like a newspaper article. You know, it was just information. And I thought, well, why don't I make it a newspaper article, you know, and put that on the back of the box. So my game takes place in the 1950s. So, you know, I looked up sort of older newspapers. I found this thing on a free vector site that I belong to, and I have a subscription there. So that means when there's pro versions of their graphics, I can download those as well as the free. I found this little bad boy here of an older newspaper article. And so I took my my paragraph, and I wiped out, you know, some of the columns here, and I took my paragraph and I put it in there. And, you know, I changed the header a little bit. I put in a picture of one of my little dudes that's in the game, and I made it big and bold so it was easy to read. So I took my paragraph of information, which was a list, and sounded like a newspaper article. I turned it into a newspaper article. And then I took this thing and I put it on the back of the box. And so you can see this is the box itself, and you can see that, you know, the article just kind of fits in there, right, like that. Now, there's more improvements that could be made to it. You know, it's still a lot of text. It's kind of bold. You know, I might be able to cut it to 50% of that size and get more people to read it or whatever. And there's more things I want to do. I want to put graphics in each of these boxes and everything, because I want it, you know, when I looked at, you know, in addition to coming up with what I thought was a creative solution for this problem, I got inspired by other things by doing my research. So when I looked at this newspaper article, I was like, hey, this looks really cool to have all these sections and have like a big graphic in each one. You know, that really leads the eye, you know, which is why I think these old things were designed that way. And if you look at this and then you look at my design, you can see that you're really missing those graphics in these boxes over here. So, you know, there's more to be done with this, but, you know, if you like, you can read this article, and it just goes into a little more detail about what happened. Okay, so take a look at that if you get a chance. The other thing I wanted to show you was this company called Fig, and I've opened up Fig's website here. And what Fig is, you guys all know what Kickstarter is, right? You know, the crowdfunding site where a lot of games are funded. And of course, there are other crowdfunding sites like Indiegogo is another big one, probably number 2. Well, this is a slightly different concept. This company Fig, what they do is if you know, you can submit a game to them. It says right here, submit a pitch. You can submit a game idea to them, and this is more for the video game realm, right? But you can submit a game idea to them, and if they embrace the concept, then they have they have several different ways that they can help you get this game made. First of all, they can do a Kickstarter campaign to you know, inform fans about the game and help fund the game, right? But then they have sort of an investment wing of their company, which can sell shares in your game before it's even created, right? So if they see the potential for your game, they can sell shares in your game to people who are basically becoming mini investors in your game. So this combination of, you know, Kickstarter funding and share funding will allow them to do things like give you money in advance to develop your game. You can see right here, development advances. Fig provides the developer with development advances from its working capital. Community support. The community of fans and gamers help Fig publish games through their support of crowdfunding campaigns and investments in Fig game shares or other similar Fig securities. Marketing and PR, you know, they'll help you market and sell the game, right? So the idea is, you know, you've got a great concept, and you're the kind of person that's like, you know, well, I need to partner with some investors. I'm willing to give up a certain percentage of the profits of the game so I can get this thing off the ground. So, you know, I don't know what the deal is. I haven't worked with these people or whatever, but, you know, maybe you make a deal where you're like, I just want to retain 51% of my game so that I can have, you know, the final say over what happens. You go sell the other 49%, give me working capital so I can develop this, you know, either by myself or with a small team. And then when we release the game, everybody gets paid. You know, it's payday for everybody. So this is cool, and you can check this out. When I first stumbled over Fig, which was probably about 6 months ago, they were a smaller company, and you know they were making this pitch. But since then, they've actually joined with another company called Republic, and here's Republic's website. And Republic, I think, did something similar, but on a larger scale. They had deeper pockets. So now the news is that the two teams have joined together. They're one team, and what that means is good news for developers, because now they just have a much broader spectrum of different services to provide to you. You know, they've got legal teams and marketing teams and investor teams, and you name it, right? So it's just something to consider, you know, and look into, you know, maybe you, if you're interested in going down this route, you know, one way to possibly investigate it would be to become part of the fan community that supports one of these games and just watch how the whole thing unfolds. You know, do your research, talk to other people who, you know, got adopted by Fig and got investors, and see how the whole process went for them. You know, did it go really well? Do they recommend it? You know, and then do some research about how best to approach this company with your idea, you know, so that you're protected and your idea is protected, and you get well taken care of. So it's just kind of a cool resource, you know. Okay, any questions about any of that stuff or comments? Okay, so the last thing, what I want to do in the last few minutes of class here is I would like to talk to you about some notes from the textbook. You remember there's that free PDF book called Challenges, which I put on the website. There's some things in the chat here, so let me see what people are saying. I want Psychonauts too. Okay, I'm here, but I'm eating a sub. Okay, sounds good, Coulter. Okay, yeah, Psychonauts looks pretty good. I don't know what Psychonauts 1 was like, but apparently it must have been pretty good if Coulter wanted. But just the graphics on it and the name made me want to get the game. So I think that's very cool. Anyway, so let's talk about some sort of the three pillars of game design. You know, this is one way of approaching game design. So and these can be abbreviated A, M, and D, or, you know, in any order. You can put those three letters. But essentially, they stand for aesthetics, mechanics, and dynamics. And successful games, you can take these three sort of headings here, and you can group all the aspects of the game into these three headings, and you can see that the game is successful because they successfully checked off all the check boxes in each of these three sections. So let's talk about them. So aesthetics is, of course, the look and feel of your game. The actual definition of it is the emotional responses evoked by the player. Now, what I like to do when I talk about aesthetics for games is I like to use the metaphor of a restaurant, right? So have any of you guys been in that Claim Jumper restaurant that's over by Elcon Mall? No?
No.
Okay, how about,
no, I haven't.
has anybody ever been in a Western themed restaurant?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Probably.
well, and if you haven't been in a Western themed restaurant, then an Asian themed restaurant or a Greek themed restaurant, or, you know, take your pick, right? But the idea is, you know, I'm going to use Western because it's easy. When you walk into a Western themed restaurant, you're probably going to see like wood floors. You might see lariats and cowboy hats on the walls. Your waiters and waitresses might even be dressed, you know, with the little bandanas and jeans and the little Western shirts or whatever. Maybe even the plates are going to be, you know, have like bison on them or something like that. You know, the tables might be made of chunks of wood that have been, you know, rough hewn to look like something that you would find out on the prairie or something like this. So basically, the aesthetic of the restaurant is Western, right? So the whole, everything about it envelops you in the Western aesthetic, so that you know, every interaction you have reinforces that idea that it's the West and that's where you are, right? That's what the aesthetic aspect of it is of the game. And then the emotional response you have to that is how successful the aesthetic is. So, you know, if you saw this Western game and you dig, you know, Western themed things, and you buy it and you open up the game, and sure enough, you know, it's got cool looking sheriff cards and an awesome board, and there's a cool little pony, you know, token or whatever, you know, if it promises a Western aesthetic and it delivers, you know, in every aspect, then it's a successful game, right? From that one term, aesthetics, right? That one pillar. Now the other pillars here are mechanics and dynamics, right? And we'll talk about those in just a second. The other thing I wanted to point out about aesthetics is, you know, there's lots of people who have studied game design, who have practiced game design, and there's lots of people who teach it. And there's people who write books about it. And one of the people who is very scholarly about game design took aesthetics and divided it into all of these categories, right? So not just, you know, you can say in general, aesthetics is how a game makes you feel, but then this scholar subdivided it into all of these different subdivisions, right? So sensation is one. So the game as pleasure, right? Pleasures, in this case, maybe you're seeking something unfamiliar. So maybe you buy a game about traveling to India, and because you've never been to India, and then the game takes you there, right? Fantasy, the game is make-believe. So the imaginary worlds of Dungeons and Dragons or World of Warcraft, or even The Last of Us, you know, whatever, wherever you're going, it's an imaginary world, it's taking you there. Narrative, the game is drama. Well, The Last of Us, there's drama. A story that drives the player to keep coming back. You know, you want to find out what happens next. The challenge, the game is as an obstacle course. The urge to master something, you know, Mario, boost the game's replayability. Okay. Fellowship, the game is a social framework, maybe Fortnite, right? A community where the player is an active part of it, almost exclusively for multiplayer games. Discovery, game is uncharted territory, urge to explore the game world. So you can probably think of a dozen examples of especially, you know, Red Dead Redemption 2 or whatever, you know, where you go explore the world. Expression, game is self-discovery. Your own creativity, for example, creating characters resembling the player's own avatar. So, of course, D&D, I'll go back to that. You know, that's an example where you get to create your own character, and maybe you get to roll for their attributes and everything. So you really have a handle on that. But of course, there's plenty of video games where you can customize your character as well. And then submission, the game is pastime, connection to the game as a whole, despite constraints. Sometimes you play games just to get away from the real world, you know. I know that at the end of the day, you know, I'm talking about sort of a general stereotype here. At the end of the day, everybody wants a little escape. You know, everybody does it differently. Some people watch Netflix, some people play games, some people go running, God forbid. Anyway, no, I'm just kidding. But anyway, okay, so this is very interesting because we've heard about things like, you know, the game, how does the game look? What's the theme of the game, right? What's the aesthetic of the game? And that's great terminology, but it's great to take it into all of these more granular thoughts, because now you can say, well, what is our game? You know, is it narrative? And if it is it fulfilling the promise of, you know, telling a story that drives the player to keep coming back, right? Okay. Now, by the way, if you guys have any comments, you know, feel free to throw them in here. Now, two other sections we'll talk about here. Mechanics are basically the rules of the game, right? And it says here in the definition, the common non-digital mechanics include trick-taking, turn-taking, rolling a die, and moving. Examples of mechanics from video game are running, jumping, and shooting. So, you know, mechanics are, you know, how the game is played, the rules of the game. You know, obviously there are a million different mechanics, and there's even very accepted mechanics, like, for example, the rules of poker. And some of you are developing a poker-based game. And so you guys get to make the decision. You've already made some decisions about, you know, am I going to stick with the set rules of poker, or am I going to augment them and customize them so that my game is unique, you know, and some of you are doing that, which is great. And then, of course, the third feature here, the 3 pillars of game design, is dynamics. And dynamics result when rules are put in motion. The rules that allow players to attack each other might be a mechanic, but players actually using these rules to team up against the player in the lead is a dynamic. So you can think of dynamic, the word dynamic means a motion, of movement, right? So the rules exist, but it's when you put those rules in, when the rules start moving, you know, the players start moving around the board and employing the rules, that's the dynamic, right? In some first-person shooter games, players always begin in certain locations, which are called spawn points, which is a mechanic, that's a rule, right? However, standing next to a spawn point and killing players that come out, spawn camping, is a dynamic. In other words, the rules exist. I know it kind of sucks, right? The rules exist, but somebody has taken the rules and they have said, okay, well, I'm going to actively pursue this strategy of, you know, affecting the rules by killing people as soon as they spawn to stop them from attacking me or whatever. So anyway, and dynamics are a key part of the game. You can make the most beautiful aesthetic for a game. You can have the most well-written rules that are based on the most solid games that exist. But the bottom line is this: is your game fun? You know, that's a dynamic. When people start playing your game, does it naturally make them do things like team up on each other or betray each other or save each other? You know, does it make them do things that evoke an emotional response? And if so, then there's a much higher likelihood that your game will be successful. Okay, any comments or questions or any thing about those aesthetic mechanics and dynamics? Okay, cool. Well, so I think we're gonna jump out a little early today. I would like you guys to, you know, over this next couple of days or whatever, I would like you to apply these definitions. Look at the definitions, make sure you understand them for aesthetics, mechanics, and dynamics. And I would like you to examine, you know, your game at the initial stages here and make sure that these 3 pillars of game design are solid in your game, that you have solid aesthetics that will reach everything from the front of the game box all the way down to the smallest little token, right? That you have well thought out rules that, you know, will be easy to understand and easy to, you know, to employ in the game. And then think as much as possible without playing the game about how those 2 things combining, the rules and the aesthetics, will result in the dynamics, and if the dynamics will be the ones that you want. You know, if the game, and you can, one way to do this is to compare your game to existing games. So if you built your game on poker, what is fun about poker? Is it fun when the pot gets really big and then it becomes a real, you know, you have to read each other's tells and it becomes a psychological thriller where you have to psych the other guy out because you're bluffing and then somebody wins a big pot, you know, is there a fear factor of your game? Like, I don't know if any of you guys have played Exploding Kittens. Have any of you guys played that? Yeah.
Yeah.
So Exploding Kittens is fun because it's got a fun aesthetic. There's really cool, weird, humorous drawings. But the one of the mechanics of it is there's a ticking time bomb about to go off, and that creates the dynamic, which is like, oh my God, what am I going to do? I got to take your card. Oh, don't take my card. You know, you just screwed me. Okay. You know, it's like that just creates the dynamic, right? So you can cook that into your game, you know? Okay. So think about that. And maybe when we talk on Wednesday, you guys can address that. I might ask you, you know, what do you got going for the mechanics, aesthetics, and dynamics of your game? And maybe you guys can talk about that a little bit. Okay. Sound good? Okay, cool.
Good.
Sounds good.
All right, guys. Anything else from you guys? Any last questions, comments? Any? Okay. All right. And you guys are good to go. Have a nice night, and I'll look forward to seeing you on Wednesday.
Have a
good day.
Bye, guys. Okay, let's see.